Good evening, Hub Nation. Welcome back to another episode of 5 Elements of Success Player Development Series. I'm Roger Nick, your host and founder of Junior Golf Hub. We got a great show for you this evening while you're eating your chicken dinner. So we're going to be talking about equipment, the hot list this week. But before we get into that, let's cover a little housekeeping here. So make sure we want to keep it interactive. Send in your questions, comments, concerns to YouTube chat or 5 Elements at the Golf Performance Center. .com. We want to hear from you. We want to continue to make this show better for you guys out there in the audience, okay? Also, this evening with us, we're going to have Gabe Carr-Harris, who's our master club hitter here at the Golf Performance Center. He's going to be talking about the hot list and equipment. We got Wally Gonzalez, one of our technology specialists here. He's going to be, chiming in and talking about what technology does and how that's affecting the experiences in club fitting and what that equipment's doing while you're actually going through the process of hitting the golf ball. As always, we've got Tyler Campbell, but this week Tyler Campbell's on location in Orlando, Florida, at sunny Champions Gate with our academy players down there getting ready for the spring season and summer season. So hopefully you guys are out there also getting ready and again, making sure that you're prepared to play your best this season. And equipment's a big part of that. So we're really excited about that. So again, send in those questions. We want to hear from you. Pop quiz this evening. We've got, what's the pop quiz question again? I went blank. When is the best time to fit to check your golf clubs? Let me repeat that. When is the best time to check your golf clubs? So the golf clubs are something really important for us around here. Obviously, it's the equipment that's hitting the golf ball. So we want to make sure that you guys understand that. So that's our pop quiz question. You'll be receiving a sleeve of Titleist Pro V balls. If you put in your answers, we're going to be pulling that out of the hat later on. So in those answers, we want to make sure that you get those golf balls. All right, so that's it for that. Tyler, going into, before we get into this week's topic, why don't you talk about what happened last week while you guys were down in Florida?
Thanks again to anybody who tuned in last week. We had a great episode. It was pre-recorded. We talked about taking your game, your training, your academics all on the road. So, obviously you're dealt with different circumstances when you're traveling for either tournament or practice, as we are here with our junior academy over we've got about a week and a half left, but we've been down here 2 weeks so far. We had to adapt to different training locations, different equipment with our workouts, sticking to a routine in our practice and making sure that we set just enough time aside for academics, but also for, our golf practice as well. So go ahead and check that episode out. It was great if you're looking to be taking your game on the road this year.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. And why that's so important for us in talking about it is we know so many of these young players, obviously traveling during the summertime, they do kind of uproot themselves from their routines when they're playing in tournaments all over the country. So it is important to learn how to actually travel and take your game on the road, if you will. And obviously, once you get to the college level, you're going to be doing the same thing. So learning how to adapt and take that and transfer those skills that you're learning out into performance while you're maybe in a different environment is really critical. So it's a big part of our academy. So again, Tyler, thanks so much for sharing that. It was a great episode, and we look forward again, talking more about the equipment. So without further ado, let's talk this week about the equipment. So Gabe, recently Golf Digest, Golf Magazine, and basically every club fitter out there is talking about the hot list and the equipment. Let's talk about to the audience about what we found, and I know you guys do a lot of research on the equipment yourselves in-house, and with a lot of players and different level of players. So what are you seeing? And let's start off with drivers. So what are you seeing in drivers and maybe the shaft driver head combination that maybe is the best out there?
Yeah, great question, Roger. Thanks for having me. What we're seeing is we're about 30 days out here, one of the biggest tournaments of the year. So this is a great time of year where the players are really getting fine-tuned, and they've been playing for a few months. If you remember the PGA Tour season, and in the fall before the holidays, and it starts up pretty quickly. So these guys have had a few months of reps under their belt, and now it's go time. So like those guys, we're getting dialed in here. We're turning for the best, and we're pretty close. So let's get right into it. Some of the drivers, all the new drivers have been launched at this point. So Sim 2, tailor-made drivers, there's a couple of iterations of the head. Usually there's about 3 models that we see per head. Sometimes draw bias, sometimes it's a low spin head, sometimes it's a max forgiveness hit. But tailor-made Sim 2, we're seeing a lot of Sim 2 out there. Very similar color. Coloring is the last iteration, Sim 1. Slightly different crown. They've moved some of the center of gravity around just a little bit. All right, so that's TaylorMade right there, Roger. Colin Morikawa, a lot of staff players are hitting TaylorMade. So we got Colin, we got Matthew Wolff, Justin Rose,
Roy McIlroy. Yeah, I mean,
a lot of big names. We got guys are testing. Free agents out there that are big names. Next up, Ping G425. Ping always never ceases to push the limits on technology. So, it's a very classic shape. You see it on Sunday a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in a lot of bags out there winning golf tournaments. Same, obviously, as TaylorMade and other drivers, but it's definitely one that you've seen. And I know as you guys are going through and measuring this and getting ball speeds off this, it's been a pretty hot driver, and obviously it's why it's on the hot list.
Yeah, it's won a lot of tournaments of recent time. They continue to push the limit on research. They use a lot of drag and resistance studies, wind tunnels. They changed the turbulators up a little. That's a real word that they use in drag and resistance testing. So it's a little bit of a different shape. These turbulators, from the top of the backswing down to the ball on, let's say, a 100-mile-an-hour swing, they can have a 25% reduction in drag. So that's what you're seeing here in all the research.
So it's not just for beauty. So having those horns there are not just for beauty.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Okay. Got it.
Call it dragonfly. Great names. We'll move right along here. This is a Titleist family. So this actually launched, I think, in the late fall, early winter, and has been doing pretty well for quite some time. So this is just some time. This is a clone of JT's shaft right here. So this is Ventus 7X Red. You've probably seen a lot of out there.
See a lot of those guys playing that, yeah.
First time that Titleist has actually ever put a sliding weight track in any of their heads in the history of the driver. So, and conversely, it's the first time TaylorMade took it out. So, seeing a lot of innovation in some of these driver heads. And one other thing is, here, I'll give you this, Roger.
Yeah, sure.
There's the Ventus. We're looking a lot into shafts these days. So we've done a lot of work on, Wally and Roger and myself and everyone here. The whole team has spent some time really diving into the shafts. So we want to share some of the findings. So what we're finding, I showed you the Ventus there. We're seeing a lot of graphite design on tour. So a couple of shafts that we've recently tested. Some of the graphite design that's available in the Titleist, as a little bit of an upgraded option, but then these are all original shafts. So this is stuff we're offering here that's been pretty good.
Well, Gabe, before you kind of go any further on that, let's talk a little bit about, why, different shafts may be necessary for players. And I think that's one of the things that we hear quite often is, I'm playing a club that such and such is playing on tour, but it may not be fitting. It may not be the right fit for you. It may look great, and it may have cost you a lot of money, but is it the right equipment for you? And I think that's one of the things, I know, Wally, as you're going through and testing these guys on gears, and you're seeing, how the shaft is responding to the forces that are being applied to it, that's something that everybody should really know, right? I mean, because it's not for everyone to have, maybe a 70-gram shaft to a 60 to a 50 to a 40. The big strong guy might actually need a 40-gram shaft, that's not as stiff. So you're seeing all of these things. Yeah, and I know Tyler, being the physical guy, and you and Kyle, you talk about this a lot with kind of, interchangeable kind of conversation with Gabe here, and you're talking about, what the physical attributes are, having the right weighted shafts, having the right length, because that affects, being able to stay in posture. It affects, how you're going to swing that equipment, correct?
100%. And I think so often we see juniors kind of seek out that extra distance, either by lengthening the shaft or maybe getting fit into the wrong weighted shaft or club, I should say. And we know that, you've heard us say it every episode at this point, function dictates form. And, the equipment that you use is definitely going to directly affect the ability to move the club. And so, or I should say the way the body moves the club. If the club is too heavy for you, picture a 2x4, mom and dad, swinging that around your head. That's going to be a lot harder than if you had something that was properly fit for you. And obviously that's an exaggeration, but, over time, habits are formed and patterns are learned. And essentially that could lead to injury sooner than later. So I urge everybody to show patience, make sure you're getting fit for properly fit clubs, whether you're a junior or an adult. Because it's going to directly correlate to the way that, your body functions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we've seen with the better players coming in. We got professionals coming in and top amateurs and collegiate players. And you see that residual effect sometimes where they've used the club maybe too long for them, too heavy for them. And it's really kind of thrown their timing off in the mechanism, if you will, of the body moving. And they've had this kind of, well, I don't know what to do from here. And I know from a club fitter perspective, and also I'm being one of the coaches here as well, you've kind of got this unique blend of being able to seeing that and then being able to kind of, the art of fitting, right, is kind of knowing that, okay, I don't want to mess with what they're doing mechanically, but I know the equipment will change some of that as well. Yeah. And so I think, explain a little bit more about that to the parents and the players out there, because I think that's really important to identify that. Do I change my swing or do I change the equipment? And if I'm early enough in my development, it's what am I patient with?
Sure. No, that's a great question. And, I would recommend always going to the expert, go to someone that actually studies this kind of stuff and understands this stuff. And, as parents, I'm one of them. We want the best for our kids. And sometimes we might not always know what is the best. It's not our area of expertise. So I would always recommend, Roger, to seek out a professional, a PGA professional, someone that understands what you're talking about. We want the kids to move the club fast, and we want them to understand, why it's moving fast. So it's got to be the right weight for the kids, and it has. A lot of times we travel to tournaments. There's always a couple of kids that we see out there and stuff like that, and everyone wants to bomb it, but I strongly suggest that. We've had success shortening drafts here at the golfer to hit it on the center, then adding length. In fact, Roger, we pretty much we're doing all 45s and 45 and a quarters, where some of the manufacturers, I won't name names, but they're 45 and a half, 45 and 3/4, absurd lengths of drivers just to capture that one drive that they're going to hit on much longer. So we don't believe in that. We'd rather not sell them a club and give them the right club somewhere down the line.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important, is that you're trying to educate the player and the purchaser of this equipment of what it is that it's going to do for you and why it's going to do what it does for you, right? I mean, I think that's a big part of that as well. So let's go back, Gabe, and you were talking about the shafts and how important the shafts are to couple with the heads, the right heads, right, for the player. And a lot of times the heads they're so similar in what they do, right? The quality of the manufacturing, kind of what they do for the ball launch, if you will. But it really does depend on the shaft that you have in the head, right?
Yeah, you're not kidding. It's a good point. It's why we have invested so much time and research into the actual shaft. And one thing that we're actually doing here now, which I forgot to mention, is we have over the last 2 weeks we've put Club Connects on every single wood and fairway shaft in our fitting bag. And this allows us to simply put any shaft in any head. And we don't have to tell the golfer that the TaylorMade head works great. I'm sure the shaft will work great, because agreed, the shaft is very important.
Yeah.
So you'll see, in our fitting bay, the juniors have been testing this for a few weeks. Any shaft is going to basically go in any head. There's a handful of locations in the country that will offer something like this, and we're proud to have it here. So we also have a junior shaft area, Roger, that we dedicated solely to putting driver lengths of 44, 43, 42 and a half for kids that are coming out of a U.S. kids set and might not fit right into an adult set and need some transition.
Right.
So if we get the head right and we get the weight right, like we alluded to, then we can maybe build them a club that helps them transition into adulthood.
Yeah. And I know, Wally, that's been such a big part of what you're doing with the competitive players here. You're coaching quite a few players and transitioning. They're in that transition phase a lot of times when you're seeing them, especially now capturing them mostly on the gear system or on the swing catalyst, and what it's doing to that equipment and how that functionality means something to them. And when it comes out, when it comes to performance. So what has been some of the feedback that you're getting from the players once they go through really a great fit experience as it couples with great development?
Yeah, I mean, once they're put in the correct shaft, right weighted shaft, you can just see their speeds go up, and then you can just see their smiles. They're like, oh, I'm bombing this thing. I can really feel like I'm ripping this. And then from there, just seeing how they move, and you can know that you can help improve that movement just because the equipment's fit for the right task.
Yeah, that's great. So as you're talking about the shafts and talking about the heads, and again, how a lot of this equipment is very similar when it comes to its ability to perform what it's supposed to perform like. Sure. And I know we got a lot of other equipment to go through, but I kind of want to go back to just drivers, because I think that's where so many kids and so many parents get wrapped up on this distance thing. If I don't have a let's call it a top manufactured head, right?
Sure.
And I don't know if I can afford to get the top shafts.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do then?
Yeah. So you don't have to go out and spend $1,000 on a driver right away. We actually start really young kids off in 3-woods. We don't even start with a driver, to be honest. That's how I started. You can handle a 3-wood a little better, and you learn how to play the game. So there's plenty of options that are not top manufacturers. We offer stock options here, and we can even help. If it has to go even further than that, we always would like to make an impression on a young mind and someone that's learning. With a club that might be, fit for them, comfortable in their hands, so that they can swing it with speed, like Wally's saying. You can see the smile and enjoy it. So you don't have to go out and spend too much money.
Speaking of spending too much money, I noticed this shaft comes with this great cover to it, so it must be really special or something. And it's got a great color to it, which I love, the pink. And I know Bubba Watson has pink shafts out there. Yeah. What is the significance of this shaft here?
Yeah, great question. So Autoflex recently made headlines on WRX, Roger, when Adam Scott put it in a bag and tested it out. It's the old Auto Power company made by Jamea Shafts, but really simply, these are 20 to 30 grams less in weight than a conventional driver shaft, and they fit a range of speeds. So the way that the manufacturers describe Autoflex is that a range of speeds can fit into a certain flex. So they offer 5 flexes. They recommend on their website, they recommend 45-inch cuts and a certain swing weight per flex to fit them. They do go for $790. There's Korea hidden technology in it. It says right on the shaft. We haven't, to be honest, done enough research yet. We just got them in. It's pretty popular. And we're looking forward to doing some research. And if it can help someone out and they're willing to, and that's important to them, and they want to spend that money, then that's fine. But I probably wouldn't put this in a junior's hand, Roger.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. When you brought these out, I was like, well, this must be really special.
Yeah, some adult members are into it.
Yeah. But speaking of that, is one of the things that I really like about what Custom Club's doing here is kind of going with that good, better, and best scenario, because that gives people options. It educates them on there are levels of what you can get,
Sure.
But yet the technology is so similar in what you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, let's call it, you've got your luxury brand, and then you've got your kind of staple brand, and then you have, maybe the economy brand, if you will, right? So, but yet the design of each of those are to do the same thing.
Correct.
So can you kind of give you a little bit more insight to that?
Yeah. So I think what you're asking about is some of the difference in the top tier head versus something else. Most of the wood heads that you're going to find, they're hollow construction, and what they search for is different areas of the head to hide the weight, center of gravity, things like that. So some of the heads that we showed have a carbon fiber crown that weighs literally 6.5 grams. So you can
like this tailor-made head here, the carbon fiber, yeah.
Correct. And what they're doing is, and on the Titleist, you don't see that. The Titleist is titanium. Right. The face is ATI 425, which is new this year. That's a harder aircraft aluminum that they're using, made in Pittsburgh. So they move the discretionary weight around a little bit to change the launch. So I'll give you an example. So the D-type heads, you've seen D-type before. That's no secret. It stands for draw. They will move the center of gravity maybe from the center, low in the back, or center front, closer to the heel. That allows the toe to rotate, close a little quicker. The weight is moved around to affect the launch conditions. Some of the top tier manufacturers will offer lots of options, but when I was growing up, I started on Tour Edge and used Nicholas N1 air bears, and they were not fit for me. Those were just bought off the rack,
Yeah.
So if that's an option, if that's something that the golfer we can tell is important to them, then we don't hesitate to make sure that they get what they need, regardless if it's a lower price.
Yeah. And I think, Wally, that's one of the things that I know when you're talking to parents about, equipment changes and, when they should actually be looking at equipment and how often they should be looking at equipment. What's kind of the detail behind that, if you will?
It's really just anytime, all the time, right? You just want to make sure they're fitting the right length, right weight the whole time, even with their growth spurts. You never know, clubs can get really short, really light, really quickly. So just having a team to help you with that is just really beneficial.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to what Tyler was saying earlier. Understanding where kids are developmentally is obviously helping that. And, for a coach to be able to be so tuned into that and knowing that, hey, they're going through this maturation, process or period, and boy, they need something different. It's easy to kind of go in and say, hey, we need to check your equipment.
Yep.
Again, anytime, right? You want to make sure that you're doing that often enough that they're not having big gaps there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's with drivers, irons, and wedges too.
Yeah,
correct.
That's it. You want to keep them updated. That's right.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the hot drivers out there. So I'm going to force your hand a little bit here. So which driver that's out there right now would you say you would highly recommend as the top driver, the go-to driver?
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy it. So you got to.
Okay. Well, you're not the first person that has asked me that question.
Exactly.
The simple answer is it depends on the individual. So, on the PGA Tour, they will give you stats from the Darrell numbers and the equipment manufacturers, who's using what heads. In the Custom Clubs Bay, our numbers are a little different than that. Last year, we had a lot of success with Maverick and Sim. And Titleist was right behind. This year in our early testing, Roger, the ball speed has gone up significantly on the Titleist. The ping driver is awesome. If you look at the last couple weeks of the winners, there's a lot of ping out there, and Max Homa, so I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm sure we can find something that beats your Callaway Great Big Bertha or whatever it is.
Well, so Tyler, I guess for you, there is hope. So I think we can probably find some hope for you out there. So
Back up there, go through a fitting.
Yeah, there you go. So Gabe,
I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, right. That's two of us. So now we just kind of covered the driver and kind of the significance of that, and we know that's probably, even though people say, hey, I want to get fit for clubs, they're really coming in for the big stick, right?
Yeah.
They want the big dog to go out there and eat and hit it as far as they can. Everything else is kind of consequential, right?
Let the big dog eat.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the iron heads and the kind of the design of the irons that you have here, and what's out there now, and what you would recommend is on the hot list.
Grab a start here.
I mean, can I help you there? Or do I need to?
We got a couple. Start right here, and this is Callaway's Apex 21 line.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Callaway, Ely Callaway started the company in 1984 as his third career, so retired third time career. The guy loved hickory shafts. He bought them in a shop in Florida and started the company. So 37 years later, they're still making premium equipment here. So the 21 DCB, this is the deep cavity back. So you have some pretty heavy tungsten weighting, toe, heel, top, bottom, DCB right on the back there. The lofts are going to be slightly stronger. The eye angle is going to be a half a degree upright. I believe on this it's either half or one. That's the DCB Apex. We go to the middle, which would be the Apex 21. So there's some of the tungsten removed. It's a little bit smaller, what we call top line there. And again, the lofts are different in the Apex than the Apex DCB. And then moving along, we have the Apex Pro 21. Probably seen some of these. A lot less tungsten, although there is still some tungsten in the Pro head. They're beautiful irons, and we've had some really good success early on with Callaway. They will be launching their Tour cavity back that's available to us. So we're a proponent account. We have some heads there that might not be available, and the Tour cavity back is coming to us. John Rahm tested it. Xander tested it. So some of these guys tested it. And we're gonna be able to offer that as well. A lot of options, different lie angles, and some different lofts. So you want to pay attention to that if you're blending a set.
Now, one of the things I noticed too with the irons, and I think a lot of players, and maybe you out there in the audience, have the same issue, is that you think that, hey, just because it's a little bit more forgiving, that it's not the club for me, or hey, just because this head is more of a quote unquote players club, it's not for me.
Sure.
That's why we kind of go through the process of getting fit properly, right? I mean, it might be that, hey, maybe you're not a low handicapper, or maybe you are a low handicapper, and you kind of go, well, I don't like this look. It's probably not going to fit me because I don't hit it as well, but yet. Yeah, for some reason they go out and they play well with this because maybe the focus is better, right?
Yeah. It's a great question. So we're here to take care of the golfer, the member, our juniors. So it's all about them. So we want them to be comfortable with what they're doing and while they're at the Golf Performance Center. So when we do our recommendations, as you mentioned before, good, better, best, we do them based on performance and how well the golf club performs. And oftentimes, the golfer might want to go outside of that range and pick something that, is, like Roger's saying, more comfortable to them, or it exudes confidence when they look down at the head and things like that. So everyone's different. We want to make sure that they're getting what they want, but they're also here paying a price for our recommendation. So that's what they're going to get.
Yeah, because I know, talking to a lot of tour players over the years, one of the fallacies, the tour player only hits, the tour pro club. The reality is, just like all of us, the tour players need help, and they want it to be as easy as it can possibly be. So you'll see that more game improvement clubs out there, because they are actually manufactured just as well, if not better, than some of the tour player quality clubs.
The most common example, you can think back to Jordan Spieth using AP2s.
Yeah.
And that was available. That was like their number one selling iron probably 4 or 5 years ago before they switched over. And, Jordan had a full bag of those, and he won a lot of golf tournaments with it. He's probably going to win again if you've been paying attention. And, he's not hitting the MBs that Adam Scott was hitting, who's coachless. Adam Scott coaches himself. So there's a guy hitting muscle backs, and then Jordan Spieth with Cameron McCormick. So everyone's different. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And Wally, I know, again, that's one of the things that you see a lot when the parents are coming in and asking your recommendation with the player and going out and playing. It's, what do you tell the parent, if you will, and the player of why they should have a certain club?
Clubs. I mean, it's when you get fit, it's a yes for everything, right? If it's good for the junior, good for the athlete, why not? Just go for it.
And it probably gives them confidence going out there.
Yeah, it's a.
Gabe, you have some other irons here?
Yeah, we got one more we can share here with you.
So what I think what you're telling me is Callaway is doing a really good job, and it's on the hot list of maybe a strong to buy.
Yeah,
club.
Callaway's been on the hot list. Next 20 right there up with them. A little earlier in the fall, TaylorMade launched their 2021 iron line, which is P7MB on the bottom here. Very pretty tour blade right there. We have P770, which they advertise as like the sibling to the P790. The number that you see on the back of the head is the measurement in millimeters from heel to toe. So you might have seen the 730s from Tiger. Obviously a little smaller, but this is pretty classic. Still has slot down there. Sweet. P7MC. If you remember the rack irons, Roger, they were probably 2010 models.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yes,
They
I do.
have a little bit of that flair to them. And actually, we didn't think this was going to keep up with the other two like early on, but it's been doing pretty good. So they're all the lofts are the same except on the 770. The line angles are the same. A little bit of a different construction in the tungsten, and this is a different metal. So TaylorMade recently changed their forging process, Roger, to try to get a little bit more like Mizuno, maybe with a grain flow forge, cool down, heat up process to try to improve the quality of the head and all that. So they did a great job.
Well, and it's also the quality of the response, right? Versus, having, the hot spots, as they used to call them in the faces of these clubs. And, sometimes you'd have one that goes a little longer than you didn't anticipate it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, what happened there? And so that grain flow force is something that really helps with eliminating some of that.
Good acoustics on that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. So really, really cool stuff. And I really kind of appreciate you kind of bringing these out, because I think it shows that there's, even though the game has evolved and the players have evolved out there, a lot of times the equipment, it's old. What was old is new again, right? I mean, you kind of see some reflection there, or some old clubs that we used to see. It's kind of like, wow, that's really neat, but yet it's advanced, right? I mean, because probably the materials that are in here and how it's actually going to sound. As you said, it's actually very interesting that you mentioned sound, because I don't think people realize how much sound plays a big role in actually, what you feel. And, I think a lot of times when you hear something that clicks, you go, oh, that's so hard, but yet it's almost indistinguishable when it comes to the best players going, I don't know if that really felt that much different, but it sounded different. So then therefore they associate that with feel.
Yeah. Which is why they stuff the hot melt in there, and they got to get it right. So if it doesn't feel right, it's not going to end up in their bag. They got to have confidence, hitting that shot. As Nick Novak always talks about, over water, 210 yards. They got this club from 1998. They have to have confidence. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so I guess, kind of thinking on wrapping it up on the equipment tonight, and I know, we've covered a lot here with the woods and the shafts and the iron heads. So tell us, where would I want to go to get the best information and education on what equipment fits me the best, and maybe share out there with the audience, and maybe they need to find the right place too.
Yeah, for those watching out there, try to find a PGA professional that can help you make a good recommendation for your equipment. And I would always ask the honest questions. If price is an issue, then be upfront about that and say, listen, I want to do this the right way, but I want to do it at a reasonable price. If the timing is an issue and you might be traveling for a few months and you want to make sure that you get it in a timely fashion, just be upfront with the person. We do a lot of club fitting here. We've been doing club fittings for quite a few years here. We do a little bit more of a tour experience here. It's about 2 hours versus an hour, but always seek out the experts.
Yeah, and you use a lot of technology, obviously the gears, the force plates, to be able to make sure that you're measuring those things. So again, seeing the quality of that while he's kind of what's a big part of the experience as well, right?
Yep, just seeing what you can measure and then you can improve it. Just always a good marker to have. Yep.
Yeah, got to have a good baseline. I mean, it's just so much in equipment, and I tell you, it's so hard to get it into one show. So we're going to be talking more about equipment at a later date. So tune in to more information. We're going to continue doing the research and giving you the best information out there when it comes to what equipment may be the best fits for you, and also maybe some of the equipment that's not going to be the best fit for you because we didn't see it hold up under our rigorous testing. But do we have any questions this evening? We didn't have any questions, so I wish we had had some more questions from you guys out there in the audience. That's okay. I just wanted to let you know that if you have 10 minutes, please go do your self-assessment, your PDI self-assessment. It only takes 10 minutes. Understand where you are. Go to the Junior Golf Hub, click on, and register there to do that. We'll be coming out with a schedule for our coach guided PDI assessments. That's going to be out very soon, so look for that in your tournament schedule. So wherever you are in the country, we'll hope to be close to you soon. We always want to say thank you to our sponsor, Junior Golf Hub. Make sure you're downloading the app. Put those coaches in your pockets. Reach out, find those tournaments that are best fit for you, making sure that you're finding the best fit for schools as well. And let us help you understand your journey a little bit better. So download that Junior Golf app as well. And Ethan Allen Preparatory, achieving your greatness in the classroom, on the golf course, and in life. And as always, we want to say thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this has been informative and helpful to you. We know we always enjoy what we're doing. Tyler, thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your stay down in Orlando. And tell the guys we said hi. We miss them here. And it's 70 degrees here today, so they really didn't miss, you missed a lot.
Yeah.
But also, we want to just mention, again, one of the things that really near and dear to us is also making sure, I know a lot of pressures on a lot of you young folks out there when it comes to, the college process, school, performance, anxiety, depression, mental health awareness. Seek out your best professional around you. Ask for help. Find a mentor. Hey, hopefully your PGA professional is also a mentor to you as well. Ask a question. Say hello. Let somebody help you if you need help. So again, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week, and enjoy your journey. Get after it.